was curious whether there were things you were working on in your game this offseason as opposed to just general improvement. And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
Yes, sir. Just the times that I was able to get out, just still, after the Super Bowl, just having the crazy hip and ankle injury that I had, trying to get back to 100% was my biggest thing. So, once I was able to get into that, get to 100%, then, working on my hands, catching. I wouldn't say it was a problem last year, but just understanding our offense. We moved the ball around, we spread the field, and why not work on something that I feel like I can improve on. So that was one of my steps as far as improvement.
Yeah. Okay. You talked about working on your hands. How did you do that? Would you have somebody throwing to you? Do you use a jugs gun? How'd you work on that?
Jugs, mainly, but just different angles of catching the jugs, just not 10 yards out and just straight ahead, just catching. So high balls, low balls, anything. I'm not the tallest guy, so just being able to have a wider catch radius for my height was kind of my thing. So expanding that and as far as film or anything, any past college film, even last year, it was seen that I can catch. So but just being able to work on it was one of my things this year.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Clyde, along those lines, just how much of a goal is it for you to be more involved in the passing game this year?
Everything is based off, the things that we install. And talking to Coach Reed and also Pat, there are things as far as, we're implementing to get the ball to the back and, just get the ball, spread it out more. So, that was one of the things on why I chose to work on my hands and just be more of a threat. It was seeing that I can run a ball between the tackles, outside. That was kind of, seen. So just being able to also get out and not just routes out the backfield, but also spread out in the slot position and also the outside wide out position. So just being able to expand my skill set was my thing.
Let's go next to Pete Sweeney. Go to Pete.
Hey, Clyde, staying on theme here, it seems the Chiefs moved Greg Lewis to the running backs coach this season, 8 seasons in the NFL as a receiver. How has he helped as you're trying to develop those skills more for the pro level?
He brings in that receiving coaching aspect of, as far as the routes that we are implementing and putting in. So, just those little things that you don't get taught, from a running back coach, but you get it from a receivers coach. And then, also still having that, it's not like he hasn't been in the league 8 years and seen some good backs, and then, also coach some great receivers. So, he's kind of seen it all. And then with the help of EB also being around and being in the room, it still can get help from the running back standpoint. So everything is meshing and working well. So I'm loving it. And also, G. Lewis, who doesn't love G. Lewis?
Let's go next to Haley Lewis. Go ahead, Haley.
Hey, Clyde, just first off, want to clarify, would you say you're 100% back to full health? And then secondly, want to ask you about, last year having a virtual offseason, this year you're actually in person, just how much better it is for you guys to be here on the field in person, and maybe how that differed for you, especially going into your rookie season.
Oh yeah, I would say, to answer your first question, yeah, I'm 100% healthy. And then, I would just say it feels like 2 different seasons. I was coming in, not knowing anything last year. So everybody was kind of like having this perspective of, this is what it should be, or this is how it feels, or, that they were asking players who were in the league before. But, that was my first thing. Like I had my entire OTA season, pretty much off just to work out. And then we came in fall camp, and then I want to say like 2 weeks in, I was named the starter. So, I mean, as far as how much we were doing, Zooms and everything, it wasn't like I was behind on the actual plays, and I got drilled because everybody was telling me Coach Reed's, the playbook was outrageous, and I mean I went out there and I performed. That's why That's why I got drafted where I did, and you know, as far as my football IQ, he put me in a position because he knew that, you know, that I would go out there and perform. So, you know, that was just it. But now just having this year to be able to go out there and just, you know, I miss football. I feel like that's the biggest thing. You know, having OTAs, everybody's kind of, you know, one way or the other, but just to be out there with the guys, man, this is what I do for a living. This is where I get my joy. So, you know, it felt good to be out there.
We got 4 more. We'll go right down the line, starting with Harold. Go ahead, Harold.
Hey, Clyde, simply put, what do you want to see out of your second season in the NFL that you can improve upon your first year?
Mainly, man, I would just say composure. You know, and everybody can watch film and just, you know, see what they see, but only you know how you feel in that helmet and feel on the field. So it's gonna be different. You know, we're gonna have fans. You know, different as far as, you know, switching plays, calling audibles, everything. It's just gonna be different. So composure is gonna be a big thing. Being able to kind of relearn, you know, hearing in the stadium and everything else. It's, you know, once that stadium's loud and that helmet is echoing, it's a little difficult to hear. So it's just kind of getting accustomed back to how things work.
Next to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Clyde, I want to ask you about the other side of the ball, if I could, for a second. We talked to Chris Jones earlier. I just wonder if it's in the moment during these OTA minicamp practices or maybe watching the film of it, what's it like to see Chris on the edge, knowing what type of player he could be if a role is given to him that expands to that sort of side of the ball? I mean, when as an offensive player, when you line up and you see 9-5, you know, the thing is you wanna try to figure out where he's going to go, you know, or what's his plan. So and that's just kind of his thing. You know, when you have a guy of such magnitude on the defensive side of the ball, attempting to try to figure out where he's going to be going, you know, trying to figure out his lineup adjustments and just any possible thing that you can to read his movements or read where he's going to be. You know, that it goes to show you how much of an impact player he is. So, I mean, Chris Jones is Chris Jones. I mean, he's you know, known and all over the place for a reason. He gets sacks and is that guy. And I know I learned that very quick last year. So it's one of those things, man. Chris Jones, you know, from Chris to Tyron to Frank Clark, it's just one of those things. You just need to know where those guys are.
Last 2, we'll go Sarin and then Herbie. Go ahead, Sarin.
Clyde, I remember talking to you last year about how the playbook, you know, you had an extensive playbook at LSU, and maybe, you know, the stories of Andy Reid's playbook weren't swallowing you up like maybe it would some other guys. But was there anything out there now looking back on it a year in? I know guys usually say what you said about having that full off season to work out, but what else maybe surprised you or is bigger or faster or better or tougher or harder in the NFL now, having been through it for a year?
Man, it was the biggest thing was just kind of like the pre-snap, you know, indications and pre-snap reads. And you probably go back and probably hear me say the same things in other interviews, but I feel like that was the biggest, that's going to be the, you know, that's the biggest jump. That's where you need to learn pre-snap things and kind of understand, as far as from an offensive standpoint, you know, reading the fronts and knowing if it's an odd, even front, you know, 57 front, reading linebackers, knowing if it's going to be man, you know, reading safeties, you know, man zone. It's all that, you know, kind of happens right before, you know, we snap the ball. So, you know, the better you can be at that, the better player you become, the more you understand your role and the more you understand, you know, what the next guy is going to do. And, you know, for me, from a pass protection standpoint and or runs, you know, we make calls before we run the ball, you know, that may switch up a blocking scheme. We also make calls before, you know, before throwing the ball, which is sometimes implemented in the pass game and or, you know, I'm blocking. So just knowing, you know, what's being called, what's being switched up is those big things you need to learn.
We'll ask Herbie Tiopi. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Clyde, I want to go back to all the earlier line of questions of you working on being a receiver out of the backfield. And to sort of piggyback off of what Pete was asking you about Greg Lewis, you mentioned how beneficial it is to have him in your ear. How much is he in your ear to potentially look at film of past running backs in Andy Reid's scheme, or even running backs that you admire as receivers, and you're studying them as well?
That really wasn't his strong point as far as teaching. You know, as he's hands-on, you know, being on the field, and every back is different. You know, he can't sit there and tell me, you know, go look at the way this guy did it, and you know, he might be 6'2", 230 pounds. So I mean, you can teach some things from film, but I mean, I don't think, you know, he went out his way to try to teach. You know, it was a big thing when Cheetah, you know, was coming into the league. How is he going to be? I don't think he was, you know, saying go watch Julio film and you know, try to go be like Julio. So you know, you be the player that you can be. I feel like I was a decent receiving back out of in college, and just, you know, using my skill set as being able to catch. That's just one of those things. So we were just kind of enhancing it. It wasn't like, you know, I didn't do any receiver work in college, but as far as just kind of mind tapping me and getting me back in the swing of just, you know, having that, it's a different, it's like different little quick twitch muscles, different, you know, coming out of routes, you know, not standing up and dropping down out of routes. It's just those little things that you do as a receiver that he's been teaching at the backs. So,
Clyde, we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
yes, sir. Thank y'all.